Okay, so your homework tonight, kids, I told you to use this top part right here for a little bit of help. That kind of shows you how to figure out the volume. It's length times width times height, just like we practiced in class. I think in class we had it reversed, but remember, with multiplication you can switch it around. So it can be length times height times width. That will still get you the same answer. Knowing that, now if we look at our sheet here, we can see 8 is the length, and our width is 5, and our height is 8, so we need to multiply these. So we've got 5 times 8, which is 40, and then times another 8. 8 times 4 is 32, so we add a 0, 320, and then we were measuring in yards. And since we had 1, 2, 3 things that we multiplied, it needs to be yards cubed. And I asked you to draw a little sketch of this today, if you could, of a rectangular prism. I'm going to come back and do that if I have time. I'm afraid my sketching might take a little too long. Sometimes these videos run out. Okay, so next we've got 5 times 2 times 7. 5 times 2 is going to be 10. And then we multiply times 7. 10 times 7 is 70. Our unit is inches this time. And again, since we did it 3 times, we need inches cubed. We're going to need it on all of these today for volume. This one, we've got 9 times 3, which is 27. And then we've got 27 times 5. I'm going to use my calculator just to make it go faster, and you can too if you want to. That one's 135. And we were measuring in meters, so that will be meters cubed for us. And then moving on, just going to flip this over here. This time we've got 12 times 10 times 15. 12 times 10 will be 12 with a 0 behind it, 120, times 15. I can use my calculator. You can too if you want to. 120 times 15 will be 1,800, or 1,800 is the proper way to say it. And we've got centimeters. And remember, since we're doing it 3 times, we need centimeters cubed. 21 times 13. I don't know my 13's facts real well, so I'm going to do 13 times 21. And it will equal 273, but we also have to multiply by that one, times 19. Oops, I did plus. Let's try that again. 273 times 19 is going to equal 5,187. Put a comma in there, and our unit this time was feet, and we want feet cubed. Remember, go back and draw yourself a little sketch of it when you get a chance. Next one, 18 times 12 times 16. 18 times 12 will equal 216, and then we need to multiply that times 16, and that's going to equal 3,456, and we were talking about inches as our unit, and we've got inches cubed on that one. I'll put a comma there. 34 millimeters times 27 millimeters equals 918, and then we need to multiply it by the height, which is 32, and you'll find out, wow, we're getting large numbers now, 29,376, and this was millimeters, and we want millimeters cubed. And that's it. So now you get to go back and you get to draw yourself a sketch. We want it to be 8 yards. I drew mine kind of small. I might go back and make that just a little bigger. 8 yards by 5. So I want one side a little bit longer than the other, but pretty close. I'm going to call this one 8 and this one 5. And then we're going to go back about 8. So I want to go back about that same distance as this. And this part I don't care about as much as your answer right here, but Just sometimes good to visualize so you remember what you're doing here. And a picture here, a 5x2 to start with. So we'll make it a little bit wider and a little shorter. So more of a traditional rectangle look. And then we want it to go back 7, so it's going to go back a bunch, more than this 5. It's going to be a very long one. Connect our lines together. And sometimes you'll see people do the inside line too. You can also do that. Show the missing parts. This one is a 9x3, so it's going to be long and short. We'll call this 9 and 3. I'm looking over here. I didn't do that for this one. I think we said this was 5, this was 2, and this was 7. So we've got 9 and 3, and then we're going to go back 5, so about half that length, a little bit more. Okay, and that was 5, and that was in meters. This one, 12 and 10, pretty much a square. Slightly longer on the bottom. 12, 10, and 15. Ooh, that's going to go back quite a ways. And again, you can do that inside one if you want to add that other dimension in there. And 21 by 13, we're going to have to approximate on that one. 21 feet is quite long. Okay, so we want this one to be almost twice as long as this one. And we'll call this one 21, this one 13, and then it's going to go back 19, so not quite as long as that one. And 19, just to give you kind of an idea of what it is that you're sketching when you're doing these rectangular prisms. And then 18, 12, and 16. A bit less. We'll call this one 18, this one 12, and then we'll go back. What we are guessing is about 16. Call that one 16. So our length, our width, and our height. I think I might be doing it backwards, but as long as we've got our 3 measurements in there, we've got the right idea. Let's do this one right. This one, the height comes last. I don't know why they did it in that order, but they did. So we will do our length as 34. Call that one 34. And then we'll do our height this time as 32. Oh, we're going to get more of a square because 32 and 34 are pretty darn close. We'll call this one 32. And then we'll say it is 27 wide, so not quite as far back. And we'll call that one 27. And we were measuring in millimeters. Doesn't have to be perfect. I just really want you to kind of see what it is you're measuring, and that is not just numbers, that it's actually a 3D shape that we're working with. All right, thanks for working with me today.